Welcome back. Up next is another candidate from Washington State. That is, not Washington, D.C. There are now 15 major candidates who have either announced or filed paperwork for the Democratic nomination. And by the way, our little list of boxes up there does not include Joe Biden. Separating yourself from that large a field is a challenge. Washington Governor Jay Inslee is trying to meet by focusing on one major issue, confronting climate change. He's also the governor of a state that has many sanctuary cities. Here's the map of it. Just the kind of places to which President Trump is suggesting sending migrants crossing the U.S.-Mexican border. And Governor Jay Inslee joins me now. Governor, welcome to Meet the Press.
Yeah, good morning. Thank you.
So let me start, before I get to some other topics, let me start with what the president is suggesting. I know the Seattle mayor wrote an op-ed for the Washington Post that basically condemned the president's weaponization of the idea, but then essentially said, all right, fine, you send them, we'll take them. Is that your attitude too? And should this, regardless of the president's tone, should actually this be part of the temporary solution?
Well, this is yet another act of bombastic chaos that simply is not going to work for this ineffective president for several reasons. Number one, look, you can't threaten somebody with something they're not afraid of. And we are not afraid of diversity in the state of Washington. We relish it. It is the basis of our economic and cultural success. We're built as a state of immigrants. We've welcomed refugees, as we did the Vietnamese refugees with a Republican governor back in the day. And we continue to welcome. It's why I was the first governor to say that our state was willing to take Syrian refugees. It's why I was the first governor to come out against the Muslim ban. It's why we've sued Donald Trump and won 18 times in a row. So this is simply not going to work for him because we are happy to take refugees. I'm proud of Mayor Durkan from what she has said. But it's also simply based on a matter of, these are humans. These are people. Somehow,
just tell me what you would do right now. Look, forget, if you're elected president, there might be a Republican Senate, and Democratic House, so a quick legislative fix is not there. Tell me what you do right now.
Well, number one, I would attack climate change because a lot of these people who are coming north are climate refugees. Not all of them, but a lot of them. And the fact that Donald Trump has waved the white flag of surrender to climate change is wrong.
But that isn't going to deal with the migrants right now.
Yeah. In the immediate problem, it is pretty clear what we need to do. We have to be solution-based rather than sort of trolling in the internet-based. And if you are solution-based, we've got to make the asylum process work. And that means we have to have more channels, more hearing officers to simply be able to process these cases. Look, you don't change the law just because you got more cases in the federal court system or get rid of judges, as he has suggested. We need more processing facilities to help these folks. And yes, while they're waiting for their asylum hearings, we're welcoming them to the state of Washington because we have found these folks frequently become pillars of our community.
You're going to hear many Republicans say Democrats are for open borders. If somebody accuses you of being for open borders, what would you say?
I would say that is inaccurate, as happens very frequently in this business. What I do believe, though, is we need to change our policies. Number one, we have to respond to the American character of a nation based on immigration. I believe that the spirit of the Statue of Liberty is alive, not only in America, but in Elliott Bay in Washington State. We should increase the number of refugees we are taking. This is cruel that we have reduced the number of refugees America takes at the same time the world is aflame in climate change, refugees, and civil war. And that's why I came out as one of the first to say we would take Syrian refugees. That's one of the things I would do.
Do you think our immigration law, though, should be more restrictive or less restrictive as it stands right now? Do you think our laws, just our basic laws of how to become a citizen, how to become a resident, should it be less restrictive or more restrictive?
Well, we should, number one, give the 11 million plus that are our neighbors, that are working, some of the hardest working people in the country, we need to give them a path to citizenship. We need comprehensive immigration reform. Number two, we need to protect our dreamers. The fact that Donald Trump is holding the dreamers as extortion bait, if you will, is just criminal. These people are in our universities. They're going to be engineers. They're going to be business people. We got to find a solution to the dreamers, as I've done. I actually got college education for our dreamers. Three, we got to have an asylum process that works, which means we've got to have more processing facilities. And four, as I've indicated, we got to have an American style of acceptance of refugees. Because we're a humane nation, we ought to have a humane policy.
You want to make, and you've said this very clearly, that the centerpiece of your candidacy is combating climate change, and everything is a derivative of that. It is a good way to get people to pay attention to you on day one of your candidacy. But as you know, health care is the #1 issue among many Democratic primary voters. So, for instance, where do you stand on health care? Is it for something Medicare for all a la Bernie Sanders, or is it Obamacare plus?
I think we should follow what we're doing in Washington State. We hopefully be the first state in the country to offer a public option. We've been one of the most successful in actually implementing Obamacare. And when you govern, you don't just give speeches, you actually make things to work. And we've had one of the more successful efforts. We are integrating physical and mental health so it can be more effective and cost effective. Then on the federal level, we've got to have more access to Medicare on the road to universal access. And I believe that we need to reduce the age. I think we need to allow people to opt into Medicare when they want it. And this is the way to what we need and have to have, which is universal health care in the country.
You said the word access, so it sounds like you think use the Obamacare framework and build upon it versus scrapping the whole thing and starting over.
No, yeah, I think that we can build by increasing accessibility to Medicare, and I believe that will lead to universal health care. I believe that's where we need to go, and I think we also have to find a way to reduce these drug prices by allowing bargaining for drug prices.
Let me go to some specifics on climate change. One of the bigger issues is pricing carbon. And we've seen the Yellow Vest movement in France. And you seem to be saying, well, you've tried to get taxing carbon passed as a referendum, and you seem to be like, all right, I got to listen to the voters. The voters have spoken, the people are speaking, and that maybe pricing carbon isn't the answer. What is the answer if you can't do it that way?
Well, there are many answers. What we've learned is the most important renewable fuel in this battle against climate change is the fuel of perseverance. And that means we've got to look at multiple ways of moving forward. So we're moving forward in my state. We built a $6 billion wind turbine industry. We are electrifying our transportation system. We've got one of the highest uses of electric cars in the country and electric buses. We hope to build an electric ferry boat. We just passed a 100% clean electrical grid where we will not have fossil fuels on the grid. Just passed one of my chambers the other day. So we need
that
multiple.
Means nukes. You're for nuclear energy. Not everybody on the environmental movement is for nuclear energy. You're open to nuclear energy. Correct?
I'm open to doing research and development to find out whether nuclear energy could become cost effective, could be safe, and could deal with the waste stream. Those are things that would have to be resolved before it would become part of the mix. But I don't think we should shut off research into those options, given the urgency. Look, we got one chance here. The next presidency, you got one chance. And I am the candidate who is saying categorically it's got to be job one or it won't get done.
Are you running for president to prove a point, to force the Democratic Party to take this as number one? Or do you believe this truly is the best path to the Democratic nomination for you?
I believe it is the best path because people are coming to realize the urgency of this. It's actually tied with health care as the number one priority of voters in Iowa, and for good reason. I was just in Hamburg, Iowa, a little town that's been there since 1858, never been flooded before. Now it's been underwater. I was in Seminole Springs, who saw a community burn down in California. I was in Miami Beach when I saw the roads have to be built up. People are now getting this. What used to be a graph on a chart is now reality. It's ash on the hood of your car. And so people are ready for this. And they also understand the economic potential of this, as I have for a long time. The things I predicted in 2007 in my book, It's happening.
Running from the West Coast. We know that whatever it is, there's an East Coast bias in this country, even a central time zone bias in this country. How high is that hurdle sometimes, just simply the time zone?
Well, I think it's a benefit because I think the West Coast is on the cutting edge of ideas frequently. In my state, we've legalized marijuana. I've offered pardons to thousands of people with marijuana convictions. I've done the best family paid leave in America. I've done the best or led an effort to get the best minimum wage in America. I did the first net neutrality bill in America and the best gender pay equity. This is where good ideas come from. I like being from the West.
So you have so the time issue isn't becoming a problematic.
Here I am. I can get up a little earlier than usual.
Fair enough. Governor Jay Inslee, Democrat from Washington State. Stay safe on the trail.
Thank you. Thanks for doing your climate change piece, too.
Much appreciate that as well. Hey, NBC News fans, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here, and then click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.